I really need to do a better job at remembering to do these intro segments. Hey guys, it's Timmy, and today I'm going to show you how to make this power supply out of random junk you probably have lying around. Hey guys, welcome to my messy workbench. Thank you, I'm getting it cleaned up. So, today I was really bored, and I also need a new video for my channel, so I figured I'd make this. I wanted to make one of these for a while now, and I haven't, so yeah, so I'm just gonna make a really crappy benchtop power supply and show you how to do this, so if you need one, you can. So what you're gonna need is a computer power supply, and that's really all that you need. It's just a computer power supply. But I'm gonna make this a little nicer, so I'm gonna use these binding posts that I took off of a dead amp. I'm gonna have a little power indicator. I'm gonna have this little switch. Now these little switches, it's a good idea to put this in here because that will let you like quickly turn it on and off, and you won't have to reach for this switch back here. So yeah, figured I'd just give you an introduction while my soldering iron warms up. Alright, so now that my so now that my soldering iron's warmed up, so I'm going to show you how to take one of these apart, and you can really use any one of these kind of computer power supplies for this. So, there's 4 screws. I've taken them apart already to save time, and then this cover will come off, like that. And I've got to say that this is probably the lamest computer power supply I've ever seen. Like, all the transistors are TO218 or 220 or whatever it is. So, yeah, there's a little no-brand fan in there, and like these heat sinks are usually much bigger, but it's probably because this is probably the cheapest power supply ever. So, now, if you want to use one of these power supplies without doing anything much to it, all you gotta do is take a jumper wire, and you look at this connector. You see how there's some black wires and then this one green wire here? Take a jumper and put it between the green wire and one of the black wires, and then through these wires, you should be able to get your 12 volts and 5 volts. I don't know which color is which. I'll find that out later on, but yeah. And if you want to make the orange wire work too, then there's some other process. I think it's like connect the brown wire or something, which there are some brown wires here, so that might be interesting. So stay tuned, folks. But so what I'm gonna do though to start is I'm just gonna cut off all of this excess wire. So I'm gonna start by taking off the zip ties, and so I'll shut off the camera because this is gonna take all of my battery. So I split the wire harness up into the output wires and the other control wires. So see the green wire and see these black wires? So I'm gonna take these and I'm gonna connect this together. So I'm gonna get a wire nut and I'll connect that together, so stay tuned. Alright, so I took this green wire and I connected it with a couple of the black wires just for good measure. Little wire nut should be good to go. So now I'm gonna see about connecting the brown wires in this harness. Okay, so I was off camera. I connected the brown wire to some of the 3.3 volt wires. The brown wire is the sense wire. I took the green wire out of this harness and I attached this leftover blue wire because, well, you'll see in a second. And then I have all these wires to deal with. And then also, I went and I added a slot for the binding posts and screwed them into there. And I made a slot for the switch as well. So, and I know they're messy. I just had to use some sheet metal shears. I'm gonna put furnace tape over them when I'm done. So, and then I went through the other computer parts I had from this exact computer, and I found some like LED lights and stuff, so I'll see if I can incorporate any of that into the final product. So now here's where that blue and green wire come into place. So remember how I have the switch here? So what I'm gonna do is I want this power supply to have like a switched input, or switched output I should say. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the blue wire that I connected to the ground wires, and I'm gonna put it right, darn it, I need to, please stand by, twist that up real good, and goes through the hole in the switch like that, and then this goes up like this. So I'm gonna solder that. In case anyone wanted to watch me solder this for some reason, so you can rant about my technique in the comments. So there's the blue wire, and then I'm gonna take the green wire, and you're gonna want to make sure that these wires are going through the hole you made for the switch in the case if you're gonna do it like this. So straighten out the contacts again, and then alright, please stand by. Okay, so I put that through there, and I'm just gonna solder this like this, like so. And there we go. So now we have our ground wire connected to the green sense wire, or the green power switch wire, I guess. So now we have a now we can turn on and off our power supply without having to reach for the switch in the back, which is back here. You know, this switch I'm using might very well have come from an old power supply, because I've taken apart a lot of these. That's how I know that this is a crappy power supply. I've seen better ones. So then this will just slide into here. Let's get my focus to work. This slides into here. Ow. And then there we go. Perfect. Slide that up a bit. And then you're going to want to make sure that it doesn't contact anything, so I'll probably put some electrical tape around that. So now I'm just going to get the rest of these little giblets here, the little strands of wire. So that's that. We're good to go there. So now I'm going to go focus on this. So I have an idea as to what connectors I want to do which, so I have, and also fun fact, the yellow wire is 12 volts, the red wire is 5 volts, the orange wires are 3 volts, 3.3 volts, and you have to have the brown wire, and the black wire is negative or ground. So, and I'll be right back, I need a marking tool. Okay, I have my Ticonderoga, not sponsored, so I think I want, this one is 12 volts, this one is 5 volts, this one's 3.3 volts, and this one's ground, so I'll just make a earth symbol. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take these, which were for the hard drives and CD-ROM drives and everything. I'm going to cut all the ends off of these. And then we'll go from there. So And these wire cutters are kind of dull. Oh, there we go. All in one snip. So now I'm going to sort out the different wires and then put zip ties. So, stay tuned, folks. Okay, so what I think I'm going to do here is rather than solder the 12-volt wire over here, because that's kind of hard to contact without messing up the other connections, I think I'm just going to try to tack it on over there, so yeah. And I'm not going to film this because this is going to be difficult and I'll need both hands. Wow, that took forever. Alright, so these red wires are being particularly troublesome, so I had to do something special for that. But, the black wires, these extra ones, I'm going to connect to the ground, so yeah, that's going to be quick. Okay, so I drilled a hole for the LED, and it fits in there pretty snugly, so I'm going to connect this wire here, which is one of the 3.3 volt wires, to the positive, and then I'll get another scrap piece of wire and connect this to one of the ground connections. Alright, so I connected the LED, and yeah, there's an awful lot going on here. I think it's time to seal up this disaster and put it behind me, so time to get the cover that I threw on the floor. And let's see if it's even possible to get this thing to close back up. I doubt this is going to work again. I doubt that this is going to work. So, oh boy, time to find out. I went through like a whole hecking lot of solder to make this. But I mean, hey, this is my first hacked electronics project, and it's my first electronics project video for YouTube, so, for YouTube. And, yep, just as I expected. Wah, 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 wah.
2,000 years later. 6.5 hours later. A few inches later. Day 2, Day 3, Day 4. A few moments later. 1 eternity later. 3 days later. 12 seconds later. 3:28 a.m. 3 weeks later. Many months later.
So much later that the old narrator got tired of waiting and they had to hire a new one.
Tomorrow. Tomorrow for sure. Eventually.
And we're missing a screw. Alright, technical difficulties. Please stand by. Don't you just hate it when that happens? There we go. And I'm gonna clean up this workbench soon. What am I doing with my life? Alright, it's cross-threaded, but I'm done with it. It's going in. Alright, there we go. And now for the furnace tape to make it look prettier. Okay, so finally, all the anticipation has led up to this moment. Will it work? For testing, I have this Everflow thermal take fan. Alright, so let's see. Oh my gosh, it works. And it works good too. Doesn't shock me, so that's nice. And this, does this work? Yeah, that works. This works. So, folks, that's how you make a really crappy power supply with Timmy 7.3. Timmy 7.3 out, and see you next time.